Marco had everything the world said should make him happy. A decent job, a small apartment, friends who called occasionally, and weekends filled with noise. Yet every night he lay awake staring at the ceiling, feeling a quiet emptiness pressing against his ribs. He couldn't name it, but it lived inside him like an ache without a wound. When he heard about a wise old man who lived alone in the mountains and helped people find peace, it sounded like one of those stories told by people who needed hope. But something in Marco stirred. Without overthinking, he packed a bag and boarded a bus heading north. The journey was long and silent. The air grew thinner, the road narrower. When the bus stopped for the last time, Marco walked, up rocky trails, through sharp wind, past trees that leaned like old men themselves. By dusk, he saw a small hut perched against the sky. In front of it sat an old man with calm eyes, neither smiling nor frowning, just watching. "Marco," the man said before Marco could speak. "You've brought too much noise with you." Marco froze. He hadn't told anyone his name. "How did you know me?" "I didn't," the old man said. "But your face carries your story. Come, sit." Marco sat on the cold stone ground, and as if a dam had burst, began to speak about his failures, broken relationships, his restless mind, and the constant feeling that he was falling behind in a race no one could win. The old man didn't interrupt. He simply listened, his eyes reflecting a strange stillness. When Marco ran out of words, the old man said quietly, "There are 3 things standing between you and peace: your story, your fear, and your blame." Marco frowned. "What do you mean?" The old man pointed toward the dark valley below. "You carry a story about who you are, and you keep rewriting it from your pain. You say, 'I'm like this because of that.' The story becomes a cage. The past is only a map, Marco. When the land changes, the old map leads you in circles." Marco tried to defend himself, but the old man continued, "Then there is fear, the clever thief. You say you're waiting to be ready. Ready for joy, ready to live. But life doesn't wait. The day you are ready will never come. You must start while afraid." "And blame?" Marco asked softly. "Blame is comfort," the sage replied. "It gives you a reason to stay small. It tells you others are responsible for your unhappiness. But every time you blame, you give away your power." The words cut deep because they were true. Marco looked down at his hands. "Then what should I do?" The old man stood, picked up a wooden bowl and filled it with water from a clay pot. He handed it to Marco. "Walk along the ridge and do not spill a drop. Hold it as if it's your life." Marco obeyed. At first it was easy, eyes fixed, steps steady. But soon his mind wandered, to his job, to his phone, to old regrets. The bowl trembled and spilled. He sighed and returned. The old man asked, "What happened?" "I got distracted." "Exactly," the sage said. "Your life is like that bowl. You lose peace when your attention leaves the present. Hold your moment as carefully as you held the bowl." That night, the old man taught him to breathe, not as a ritual, but as remembrance. "Your breath is the bridge between body and mind," he said. "When you feel lost, return to it." Days turned into weeks. Marco stayed, working in the small garden, fetching water, learning silence. There were no lectures, only small tasks that demanded full presence. Slowly, the noise inside him softened. One day, the old man told him a parable. There was once a river proud of its power. It mocked the small fish struggling to swim upstream. One day, a storm came, and the river flooded, sweeping away everything, including the fish. The river learned that power without awareness destroys, Marco asked. "So the fish died?" "Yes," said the sage. "But the lesson lived. Flow, Marco, but know where you are flowing." The simplicity of the story struck him harder than any philosophy he'd read. He began to understand that peace wasn't about escaping the world. It was about seeing clearly while living in it. Each morning, the old man made him write 3 sentences beginning with, "Today I will." No vague promises, only actions. "Today I will walk with patience. Today I will speak truthfully. Today I will forgive myself." The act of writing them grounded him. Weeks later, the sage gave him one final challenge. He led Marco to a narrow cliff path and said, "Walk across without carrying anything. No bowl, no tools, just yourself." Marco hesitated. The path was steep, the drop terrifying, but he walked. Step by careful step, he focused on his breath. Halfway through, wind howled and fear rose like an old ghost. For a moment, he froze. Then he smiled. Fear hadn't left him, but it no longer ruled him. When he reached the other side, the old man said, "Fear never disappears. It just loses its authority when you keep walking." Time passed gently after that. Marco began to feel lighter, not because life became easier, but because he had stopped resisting it. He learned to see thoughts come and go like clouds. Some were dark, some bright, but none permanent. Eventually, it was time to leave. The old man walked with him to the trailhead. "Remember," he said, "peace is not a destination, it's a practice. You will lose it many times, and that's how you learn to find it again." Marco asked, "And if I forget?" The sage smiled. "Then start over. The beginning is always near." Back in the city, everything looked the same. Cars honking, screens glowing, people rushing. But Marco was different. He noticed sunlight on glass, the rhythm of footsteps, the breath inside him. He didn't need silence to feel calm anymore. He carried silence within. He wrote every morning, "Today I will be kind. Today I will listen before I answer. Today I will not hurry." His friends noticed the change. "You seem different," they said. Marco smiled. "I finally stopped fighting with my own reflection." Work challenges came and went, but his reactions changed. He no longer argued for the sake of being right. Sometimes, old habits returned. Anxiety, anger, restlessness. But now he treated them like guests. "Sit down," he'd tell his fear. "I see you." And in that acknowledgement, the fear shrank. Years later, Marco returned to the mountain, not as a seeker, but as a student returning home. The old man looked older, his beard whiter, his smile the same. "You came back," the sage said. "I had to thank you," Marco replied. "You changed my life." The old man shook his head. "No, Marco. You changed your life. I only showed you where the door was." They sat together in silence. The sky burned gold as the sun set behind the peaks. After a while, Marco asked, "What is the final secret of peace?" The old man smiled. "There is no final secret. Only this. Live with attention. Love without demand. Breathe when the world feels too loud. And when you fall, begin again." As Marco walked down the trail that evening, the wind brushed his face like an old friend. The mountains whispered in the language of silence. He realized the old man had been right all along. Peace wasn't found on the mountain. It had been inside him, waiting for him to stop running, and from that day forward, whenever life felt heavy, Marco would pause, breathe, and whisper to himself, "Walk carefully, and do not spill the bowl."